We're in Italy at the tail end of the Genoa boat show to test the new Absolute 58 Fly. It's brand new, it was launched at Cannes. It's got IPS 800, so 600 horsepower per side, 3 cabins, 3 bathrooms, and as with every Absolute, there's a major focus on interior volume and deck space. This boat on the water, ready to go, around 1.3 million euros. And today we're going to take it from here in Genoa, around 35 kilometers down the coast to Varazze to see what it's like. Let's go. So here we are, safely tucked up in Marina di Varazze. It's a very easy trip from Genoa. There wasn't much weather out there really, a bit of breeze about, but all rather calm. But we'll get on to the driving experience of the Absolute 58 Fly in time. For now, let's have a bit of a closer look at the details and take a look around on board. Aft you have an optional hydraulic bathing platform. There's also the option to have a wet bar out here, which has a grill and sink. It also has lights so you can cook in the evening. And this whole section back here will extend, so the forward part of this sun pad will push into the cockpit with infill cushions, so you have an extended sunbathing area back here if you'd like. Absolute has managed to include an L-shaped cockpit, but also space to port to easily get round to the port side deck and access the Flybridge. But it's nice and sociable. There are chairs tucked down in the engine room, which we'll have a look at in a second, which can be put up around this table to make it even more sociable. There is engine room access via this hatch here, but the best way to get into the engine room is via the crew cabin, so let's go and have a look. The crew cabin is an option. This boat's got it. If you don't opt for the crew cabin, a little bit of clutter in here, but you get the idea. If you don't opt for the crew cabin, then it's just storage, but you do get an extra berth and a shower here and toilet with a pull across curtain. But no matter what you do, you will always have access to the engine room from here through this watertight door, which is really quite a luxury on a boat of this size. And once you're in, it's got a stooping room, but it's a really well designed engine space. Plenty of room around both motors, Volvo's D8 IPS 800, 600 horsepower apiece. You can get around both engines, really good access to both pods as well. And as I mentioned, dedicated stowage for the chairs. They're always a pain to store, so having somewhere to put them down here, if you're not going to use them for a while, is really handy. And this ladder leads up to the hatch that you saw earlier on. There's lashings of soundproofing down here. Out on the water, this is a very quiet boat. And when you see how much soundproofing there is down here, it becomes very clear why. It's a really smart installation as well. Proper flooring, no hard grate work on here to destroy your knees if you have to kneel. And there's little things as well, like all of the pipe work here. Really neatly labelled, you know exactly what each pipe does. Hopefully makes it easier to source and track any issues. Moving back to the main deck and into the saloon, aft galley layout, very familiar Absolute. Works really nicely though, and they've managed to work in a domestic size fridge freezer. And this being an Italian boat, coffee obviously very important. So you have storage for your cups, whether it's a cappuccino or an espresso you fancy. And you've even got a spot for your coffee machine, so that's not going to fall over. Priorities, of course. Something that would be good to see is a slightly better mechanism on these doors here. They're held with pretty weak magnets at the moment, so anything heavy could come flying out of there at sea, so probably want to see some proper catches on there. The main internal dining space to starboard here. The table does slide out into the companionway to give you more space if you want to sit down and use it, but it also slides out the way, so you have a much clearer walkway, which is a nice little feature. Storage all over the place on this boat. There's some under this seating here and proper drawers with soft close mechanisms. This is a familiar Absolute feature. You have this electronic screen that will come across so you can sort of disguise the galley if you want to, but really the open plan galley is what it's all about. And then you have a really sociable midships lounging area, which makes the most of those massive windows either side. What is nice to see is that even though you've got a sofa over here, you've also got storage. Sometimes if you have the sofa instead of a cabinet, it means you lose storage. Not on this boat. In there is your plates and your glassware, really easy to access, don't have to lift up any cushions. Very nicely done. We get to the lower helm. Absolute really do design a good helm, it has to be said. Most useful down here is that you can stand so comfortably. Even if you're 6 foot or over, you can still stand at this helm, but the double bench bolsters, it slides very close to the helm. The joystick's in the correct position so that you can open this side door, poke your head out the window and check your proximity to the dock, all from the lower helm. When I berthed this boat, I did it from the lower helm and it felt really comfortable, really natural. And it's a really smart helm design. No glare, dark materials used, sensibly laid out, really very little to fault. One thing I would like to see is a handhold worked in along here somewhere on this section. Obviously there's one here, but people who are standing up by the helm, as they will do when the boat's on passage, will find they haven't got enough to hold on to. So I wonder if one there, or even something centrally up in the ceiling, would be useful so that people can grab onto them when the boat's at sea. But now let's go and have a look at the accommodation. We know the master cabin is going to be good, so let's start with the VIP because it's pretty special on this boat. Before we get in there though, the way that this central lobby area works is really good. It's open to the windscreen, so it's very bright, feels really spacious. Yes, you have light oak wood, so it's already a bright space, but the sheer amount of natural light coming into here is really, really good. And let's have a look at this VIP. Because there's an argument that you may want to use it as the master cabin for reasons I'll explain in a moment, but the angled bed means that you can walk around it like you would in a master cabin. It's not tucked up in the peak of the bow, you can get all the way around. Really make use of those fabulous windows. Storage again is excellent in here. Got a big hanging wardrobe, and then underneath the bed there are drawers on every side, all the way around. Means you don't have to lift up the mattress. You can access that storage really easily. But what I think means that you might want to use this boat as the master is this VIP ensuite. It is absolutely enormous. Absolute say it's even bigger than the one on their 60 model. And again, the openness to the windscreen in that lobby area comes into play here because they've cleverly used this smoked glass in the ceiling so that you do get loads of natural light pouring down into the bathroom. That's the sheer size of it. It's so luxurious. Big, separate shower cubicle, really nicely finished. The bathroom wear is top quality. And they've also used sliding doors throughout the accommodation, which again saves so much space. You don't have doors swinging into the accommodation areas, they just slide out the way into the bulkheads. Works really well. And then we find ourselves heading into the master cabin, which is as impressive as you would imagine on such a voluminous boat. A good space all the way around the bed. You only have to stoop a little bit as you get up towards the top end of it, but moving around this cabin is really easy. It's a flat floor. Hull windows, of course. Firing light in here. And again, we keep banging on about it, but storage is just through the roof, both sides, under the bed. Big hanging locker here, which has got a safe inside it and little storage cubby compartments to really make the most of the space. Then you have a little vanity area here. And instead of just having the washing machine, which you would on most boats, these actually slide in. This boat has a whole laundry area. There's a little washing basket that pops out on the left hand side there, storage below for your products. Neat installation. And the ensuite, well, it can't really compete with the VIP. It's still perfectly spacious, but that VIP is just something else. But there's a nice touch in here, in that this window, at the touch of a button, becomes your mirror. Nicely done. So nice shallow steps with thick treads. You're confronted immediately by the wet bar with its grill, fridge and ice maker. It's in a good spot there. Forward of that you have the helm, and it's a really good ergonomically sweet helm position. You can see how the throttle is thrust out under the arm of the skipper. The seat, the wheel are both adjustable. You can get really comfortable on this boat. I drove here from the Flybridge and you can sit really close. Don't have to lean forward to reach the major controls. Very, very comfortable. You have a nice lined storage compartment here, perfect for stowing the screen protectors and covers. Dedicated sunbathing space here, like the foredeck. Adjustable backrests on these. And then a very generous dinette up here. Finish of the table's lovely, solid teak, nice chunky legs on it as well. Space aft is left open for you to do with what you wish. Sun loungers, another freestanding table if you want it, but plenty of open space here. Dedicated spot for the life raft as well, in a location nice and high up on the boat, which is where you're going to want it if you're sinking. And quite a neat feature to have a shower up here, so you don't have to go down to the bathing platform to hose off at all. The hardtop is an option, one that most will tick, I would say. If you don't have this, you have a standard radar arch with a bimini, but on this size boat the hardtop does make sense. Absolute has done a great job on the 58 Fly. There's the major points like the sheer amount of space on board, the huge cabins, particularly that VIP and its amazing ensuite, the deck spaces, the huge Flybridge, but then there's the stuff beneath that. There's the depth of engineering, the practical detailing is absolutely superb, the engine room access, the engine room installation. It feels like the designers have poured over every single part of this boat and maximised it to its greatest extent to make it as usable and as practical as possible. Potential issues, well, the fact that it's IPS only could be one of them. There's small things like, you know, not having proper catches in the galley, but hopefully these are small things that absolutely can change. And then there's the styling, which is always going to be divisive. The way this boat looks isn't going to be to everybody's taste, but if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. One of the major issues though for Absolute is the fact that they still don't have representation in the UK, and that's a shame because the products are absolutely top notch.